Feels like there should be applause after that.
Oh, love it. Well, please sit. Yeah. Grab a glass. I would like to welcome everyone today.
Gratulerer med dagen. Hjertelig velkommen.
We are so pleased to welcome you to this year's 17th of May Seattle celebration. Thank you for joining us.
This year, we're very honored to welcome former Prime Minister of Norway and current Parliament member Erna Solberg as our Grand Marshal. Ms. Solberg, who in Norway, of course, is just known as Erna to everyone, she served as Prime Minister from 2013 to 2021. But as you all know, she has been active in politics for decades, not least of all as leader of Norway's Conservative Party, Høyre, since 2004, a role she very recently stepped down from just in February of this year. We are super honored to have you here. Thank you for celebrating 17th of May with us here in Seattle. Velkommen.
We are also very grateful for the opportunity to celebrate two honorary marshals this year, Konrad Uri and Captain Dale Peterson. Konrad was born in Seattle to Norwegian immigrant parents who hailed from Sunnmøre.
Good job.
Norway. He is known both regionally and nationally as a fishing industry pioneer, having started in this profession while he was still in school. Over the course of his career, Konrad owned and operated numerous vessels, building a reputation as both a skilled fisherman and an industry innovator. Deeply connected to his heritage, Conrad's life reflects a legacy of hard work, innovation, and cultural pride that continues to resonate across generations. He is a pillar of the Norwegian American community. We are also grateful to honor Captain Dale Peterson this year. Captain Dale is a Seattle-based maritime professional whose career reflects a lifelong connection to the waters of the Pacific Northwest. He is best known as the former captain of the historic vessel, the Virginia 5, one of the region's most iconic steamships. Captain Dale is also very well known as a longtime member of the 17th of May Seattle community, following in his father's footsteps, who was the chairman of the committee the year Captain Dale was born. Thank you for your many years of service as another pillar of the Norwegian American community. We are Jenny Iverson and Lena Sandspark, current co-presidents of the 17th of May Seattle Committee. We would like to thank our fellow committee members for all the work that's been done this year to bring us all together for another wonderful celebration.
We also want to express our gratitude to the wonderful sponsors who make this event possible. So our presenting sponsor this year is Kongsberg. Tusen takk. Thank you very much. We also want to recognize Trident Seafoods for their continued support, as well as Swanson's Nursery, Ben's Plumbing, the Scandinavian Cultural Center at Pacific Lutheran University, and thank you also to the Norwegian Commercial Club. Thank you.
We would also like to thank our many in-kind sponsors and the Friends of 17th of May, all supporters who make these community events possible.
And I get to say the last bit because there are Norwegian names in here and Jenny doesn't want it. Finally, a special thanks to Øystein Lone and John Walsh and Silver Bay Seafoods for making sure we all get salmon for lunch. Woo! Thank you. And thank you to all of you for joining us here today and helping us celebrate together. Thank you.
Now, please, a little drum roll. Welcome to the stage, our Master of Ceremonies, the Honorary Consul of Norway to the Pacific Northwest, Viggo Fjord.
I didn't realize this stage moves. I'm going to sissy up her. Okay, so before we do anything, I always do a couple of things. I think if you've been here a couple of times, you've seen this. We're going to start with a selfie, and then we're going to do a video where you get to do, after I say hip hip, you say hurrah. Okay, you got that? It's super simple. You got to say it 3 times, though. That's important. Okay, we'll start with a selfie. Okay. One thing done. So you guys ready? Yeah. Hip hip. Hurrah! 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 That's good. This is practice for later today, because you get to say it a lot. So first of all, welcome everybody. This is the 52nd time that we're doing the parade in Ballard, but more importantly, 137th time we're doing it in Seattle. The first time was in 1889. So think about that for a second. I'm curious, how many first-time attendees do we have here today? Wow, that's actually pretty good. Welcome. What about any Norwegian visitors? I mean, not people like us that live here, but that actually came here. Anybody came in from Norway? Welcome. As I go through this, I'll try to speed through some of this because I know people are getting hungry, but I do want to introduce the head table. Of course, Erna Solberg. We're very, very excited and happy to have you here. King County Councilmember Jorge Barron. The Executive Director and CEO of National Nordic Museum, Leif Carlsen. You have already met Lina and Jenny, the 17th of May. Our boss lunch is Anne Durant. And finally, my wife Eileen, who lets me go have fun and do things like this. There are a lot of special guests today, so forgive me in advance if I forget to mention some names. Of course, our honorary marshals, we're really, really proud and excited to have you be the marshals here. You have left such an image on our community, and we're very grateful for that, so we're happy and excited to celebrate you today. Leith, the museum, and your staff, you are always so good at supporting this event and other things. So thank you so much to you and your staff for putting on this beautiful, beautiful event that we have here. If you're on the 17th of May committee in some capacity, would you mind standing if you're out in the room? Okay, elected officials we have present today as well. Of course, Anna Solberg is an elected official, but more so than that. But I'm also very happy to have City Council Member Dan Strauss in the room. Thank you, Dan. We've already met King County Council Member Jorge Barron, and so thank you again for being here. Mayor of Marysville, John Naring. I almost said Nate, but maybe he's next. Am I missing any elected officials out there that I did not mention?
Mayor Cleellen.
Mayor Cleellen.
Matthew.
Thank you for being here. We've gone through listing the sponsors, so I won't go through the whole list again, but I will just express my gratitude. You make this happen. We can't do this event without your sponsorship, Kongsberg and Trident and all the others. You are wonderful to have here. We're very proud to have Kongsberg with such a presence here as a Norwegian that every time I drive out Linwood and I see your logo, it makes me feel good. And Trident, of course, you know, your presence in Seattle in general is just unbelievable. So, I do want to mention that as well, that you're drinking wine today from Gård Vintners. They have been absolutely awesome through the years of donating all of the wine. The Lawrence family, they are typically pretty busy at this time of year with various farm-related activities, so I keep inviting them, and they keep saying no. But one year we'll get Lisa and over here for sure. For those of you that are beer drinkers, you are drinking Ås Pilsner from the oldest family-owned brewery in Norway, generously donated by a Norwegian beverage company. So it rained in Bergen today, at least some of the time. Last year they had our weather, even warmer. This year we got their weather from last year, so that's okay. Bulgaria won the European Song Contest yesterday, Eurovision. That was exciting. Jonas Lov from Bergen was a finalist and came in as number 14, so that's pretty cool. Brann won yesterday. But more importantly, we want to celebrate today, and Erna will talk a lot more about what this day means for her and for the country of Norway. I do want to pass on a greeting from His Majesty King Harald. The Royal House is always good about recognizing the day in Seattle. Norwegian 17th of May Festival, Seattle. I'll do this in Norwegian, so forgive me. Jeg takker for hyggelig hilsen til kongefamilien i anledning 17. mai. Jeg sender mine beste ønsker for nasjonaldagen og fremtiden til alle som er samlet til feiring i Seattle, øvrige nordmenn og norske amerikanere, samt venner av Norge i staten Washington. Signert Harald Regent. I also do want to call out the recognition from King County Council. Thank you, Jorge, for making sure that that gets recognized year after year. We'll find a way to put this on display out in the lobby, along with the letter from His Majesty. We have introduced, I should say, I have introduced a new tradition, a little bit of humor in here. We are a multicultural family. We have 3 boys. One of them lives locally. He's a better writer than I am, too, and he's got a good sense of humor. So he has a new tradition of sending me a little greeting on 17th of May, and I will share that with you, coming from the perspective of a millennial who is first-generation American. So sit back and enjoy, and I'll go through this. Today we celebrate 1814, when a group of very stern Norwegians gathered in Eidsvoll. They wrote a constitution and basically said nei takk to being affiliated with anyone who wasn't a true Viking or from Sweden. This year feels extra official with Erna Solberg making an appearance in Seattle. Feels like a Norwegian Avengers cameo. But we know she's just checking to make sure we are using our cheese slicers correctly and checking our cholesterol level from those salty meats. Anna, I saw you checking the Leif Erikson statue in Kilsvoll yesterday to make sure he arrived on time, something that he wasn't historically known to do, apparently. From a first-generation perspective, Norwegian culture continues to impress and confuse in equal measures. Has anyone not connected to Norway seen troll hunters? Or tracked the Winter Olympic medal count? Brunost and jam on toast is normal, question mark. Just confirming that trolls are in the States too, question mark, because I still fear the huldra and that she might lure me into the forest. The traditions remain strong from one generation to the next. Meat is still overly salted like it's being preserved for a very long voyage. Lefse is used in our house for taco night in lieu of tortillas. Laban continues to be Norwegian version of Sour Patch, and it's much better. And what does the fox say? I was waiting for somebody to say that. So just checking to, if anyone knows why we drink so much coffee. Just because we discovered it late doesn't mean we have to catch up by drinking it in the morning, afternoon, and somehow at night too. I'm asking because my dentist has started asking uncomfortable questions about the acidity damage to my teeth. But as for today, bust out the bunads, the Viking helmets, fire up the Bjorn Dare, probably cruising around somewhere, raise your Norwegian flag, enjoy some, not lutefisk today, but also maybe some unusually small shrimp. We have shrimp sandwiches at home. We find them funny because they're so small. Fish cakes, and prepare for the biggest 17th of May celebration outside of Norway. Gratulerer med dagen. At this time, if you could please stand and we'll do the invocation.
Remain standing for the purpose.
If you could please remain standing for the toast to His Majesty. Tor, you're out there somewhere. Skål. And in response, I would like to present a toast to the President of the United States. Skål. Okay, enjoy lunch. Okay, so the time has come that we get to hear a little bit more about our Grand Marshal. Before I do that, though, I'm going to tell a little story. So 7 years ago, when I stood up here the first time, I had some pretty big shoes to fill, and I admittedly was real nervous. And we got lucky a little bit because we had a minister former minister from Erna's government, Ketil Solvik-Olsen, was here. And today we have the Lucky Seven. The Lucky Seven, Erna Solberg as our Grand Marshal. I will admit I have been scheming for 7 years and figuring out how to make this work, and it worked this year. So I'm very, very excited about that. So manifestation works. I used to ask my wife when it comes to manifestation and parking. It doesn't matter where she goes, she finds parking. But enough of that. So Erna Solberg, how do you summarize a career and a person like her in a few words? It's almost impossible, to be honest with you. So I'll give a little bit of a history, talk about her a little bit. Her civic engagement goes back a long, long time. When she was a high school student back in the late 70s, she was at the board of the School Student Union in Norway, where that's a politically independent organization. And she was the leader of something called Operasjon Dagsverk. So if you went to high school, gymnas in Norway, you're familiar with that. As a matter of fact, that year I participated in that at Øystese Gymnas, and I had no idea that, first of all, who she was at the time, and that she was the leader, or sort of the instigator behind that year's event. So it gives you a little perspective on how far back her journey goes. She has represented Hordaland in the Stortinget since 1989. She became the party leader in 2004, and she held that position for more than 2 decades. She has written some books, and in her book from 2011, called Mennesker, ikke milliarder, which means people, not billions, her political vision centered around human dignity, personal responsibility, and sustainable welfare. Themes include politics should really focus on people, not just the statistics that you often read about when you hear about politics. Norway also needed economic reform beyond what the oil and gas wealth brought to Norway. And finally, that a strong welfare state can coexist with market-oriented reforms. So the view that successful government is measured by whether ordinary people can participate in society, find work, build stable lives, that's not necessarily a statistical measure around GDP growth and state wealth and so on, but it's core, obviously, to enabling that. But values, policies, and so on, and the opportunity to redefine Norwegian conservatism as being more reform-minded was really in the heart and soul of her vision, as I have learned about it through the years. She emphasized improving efficiency, education, healthcare, job creation, but really focusing also on core social protections. Erna Solberg became Prime Minister in 2013. She won re-election in 2017, making her the longest-serving Conservative Prime Minister in modern Norwegian history. She was widely credited for building and maintaining broad coalition governments, which is not easy. It was a very fragmented political landscape, and at the same time oversaw strong economic performance, low unemployment, and very large public sector reforms as well. There's a long list of accomplishments, and I'll just point out a couple of things. Her impact beyond Norway is also very large. She was a champion of global sustainable development and education, and she has been and started becoming and has been an international advocate for UN Sustainable Development Goals, co-chairing the United Nations Secretary General's advocacy group from 2016 and forward. And she had a very strong focus on education access for girls and children in conflict zones, helping secure financing for global education initiatives like the Global Partnership for Education. If you heard her talk yesterday, there was conversation around the ocean. She has been a strong advocate for advancing climate and ocean sustainability policies. One ocean, we know that. The conference last year was really, here in Seattle, was really spun off from the initiative in Bergen with the One Ocean Initiative. In short, her long tenure as party leader has really helped reshape the Conservative Party platform, not just around the traditional Conservative processes and values and policies, but really around economic stability, education, and modernization of public services. As Prime Minister, Solberg has led a series of coalition governments, guiding Norway through some really interesting economic times, including fluctuations in global oil markets. As we know, that's a very challenging thing, as we're witnessing today. Her government emphasized job creation, innovation, strengthening Norway's welfare system. It really is an honor, 7 years in the making, to have Erna Solberg be our Grand Marshal. On behalf of the city of Seattle and the museum and everybody here, we are very grateful that we could steal you away from Bergen. I know that that's not something that happens very often, so that means a lot that you took the time to come to Seattle. So please welcome Erna Solberg.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me to come here and be your Grand Marshal on the 17th of May. We are celebrating this, of course, as our Constitutional Day. I'll come back to what more we should celebrate on a day like this, but I'd just like to say that these long introductions, this sort of sums up your life, is it feels like I'm on my way out. And I don't feel like that yet. Yes, even if I've retired as a party leader of my party. And it's nice to hear, but I think still, and I think that's maybe one of the most important things that we who are conservatives, and I know that's a different frame from you. I mean, we are liberal conservatives in the European Conservative Party. It's very different from how conservatism is interpreted in the US these days. But it's fiscal prudency and quite a liberal view of the rest of the things that we are doing. But I think it's important to say for conservatives is we always should think about what is the main aim we have. What is the goal you build your policies to? And we try to phrase that when I become party leader after losing an election, and everybody goes back and licks their wounds and try to find out how can we in fact get the voters to understand how good we are. Yes, understand what we really mean, because we felt that they were not really seeing us the way they should see us. And we interpreted it as, our aim is to create possibilities for everybody. It's a bit like the American dream. It's a bit like understanding that, the force of people in developing a society should never be underestimated. Maybe a lot of our countries in Europe thinks a lot about institutions, systems, as the most important. I think as a conservative politician, I believe that the individual's possibilities to impact change in a society is the absolute biggest. Then what's the political purpose? It's to make sure that the systems give freedoms of opportunity to everybody so that they can fulfill their talents, use their talents. That's why we are focused on education. That's why we are focused on competitiveness of businesses, because we know that if entrepreneurs can have more freedom, less bureaucracy, they will create better businesses, better jobs, and also increase our welfare. But also the fact that education is the core issue for making sure that talent is appreciated and gives social mobility in a society. And then I have to say, one of the things we should celebrate on the 17th of May is probably the international recognition that we now have that if you look at the statistics, the American dream is easier fulfilled in Norway than in America. The social mobility of people coming to Norway and migrating to our country is larger than it is in most other countries. And maybe because we have an educational system that, in fact, values your commitment, what you do, and it's not so much based on who you are. And I think this is an important lesson to learn, because it comes back to what we are celebrating on the 17th of May. Because 17th of May is, of course, a celebration of our constitution. As I think a lot of you know, the second longest living constitution in the modern world. It's only second to the US, heavily inspired by the ideas that the US had when they made their constitution, who a lot of Americans forget was heavily inspired by the French Revolution of equality and of understanding that people's rights, the individual's supreme right, to do your own choices, that you are individuals with the same type of value, whoever you are, which is the basic also for which rights you should have. It's the French Revolution, it's the American Constitution, and it is the Norwegian Constitution. Of course, women was not counted as part of that at that time, whether not here and not in Norway. So of course there has been development in the view of who are, eligible for the rights of individuals during these days. But we are also celebrating the democracy, celebrating the right to choose your own path as a country, the freedom. 1814 in Norway was about making a constitution to create a nation of Norway. Norway was a nation if you go back to the Middle Ages and before, and of course the Viking period and all of this. It was a nation. It was distinct, but of course the union with Denmark, and then of course the union with Sweden, evaporated a bit this national identity. But during 1814, there was enough people who decided that Norway should be a sovereign state again. Not more sovereign that we asked the second son of the Danish king to become king in Norway. The whole Norwegian aristocracy was killed in the 15th century, so there was nobody else who could claim it, in fact, in Norway. But we were, the Danish king took away all the opponents 300 years before 1814. But this group started, which made the constitution. 17th of May, it was on both sides. Then, just a week later, the Swedes invaded us. And that's the last time Sweden was in war. Just remember that. We have some jokes about that with the Swedish Prime Minister. The rest of us have endured different wars after that, but they have only, the last time they attacked somebody and were in war, it lasted for a very short time. We kept the main part of our constitution. We kept our parliament, we kept our government, but we were part of the union of the king with Sweden, meaning that we had our own representatives. So we do only foreign policy and tax issues, international tax issues that was on the table that Sweden decided. Were very important for us, and that means that the democracy of Norway was established. The sovereign rule of the kings were over. The fundamental of understanding that at least men, had a right to vote, become the fundamental part for the Norwegian society. And in the years after that, the democracy, the understanding of the Norwegian history, the self-awareness only grew during the years up to 1905, when we at last managed to get rid of the Swedes, which were facts. The first, up until Czechoslovakia divided, it was the only peaceful separation of two countries in Europe. Yeah, when Czechoslovakia did that, of course they copied us, but until then. So, if it was because the Swedes decided that we would defeat them if they tried to fight us, or if they decided we were not worth to be kept, we really don't know. We know there were a debate, but we at least became an independent country. But that does not mean that we are self-sufficient. I think one of the most important parts of understanding is that there's a closeness in the Scandinavian and the Nordic countries. This Nordic Museum shows that. It shows that this closeness that we have in culture, the rivalry we have, the historic things that we sometimes joke about in things in days like this, it still is friendly, and without grievances. In fact, when we celebrated the 1814 200 years jubilee, we had large, of course, celebrations in Norway. But Denmark made a large celebration also. Maybe they were tired of us in 1814, but at least they were friendly in 2014 and invited to a large concert headed by the Queen and thanking for the way we had worked together all the years, also after 1814. This celebration is also a celebration of values and ideas. It's not just about historic roots, it's about values and ideas. It's about the fact that we have a constitution built on democracy, but it's also been developed as a celebration of independence, the right to make your own choices, the human rights that are basic to all of us. After 1913 in Norway, quite a long time later in the US, women became acknowledged as they were also possible to participate in democracy and got to vote. As in fact, I think the third country in the world where women were allowed to get to vote in 1913. I usually say about Norway, because we are a small country, when social change happens, it happens fast. There's a very streak of being against things, but when it starts to move, it moves fast. And that's when very often you can say that there are issues that countries use 30, 40 years to discuss. I think Norway, you had an intensive discussion about the women's rights to vote for 10 years. And then afterwards, it all changes. And became, in the 1980s, one of the first countries with 40% women's participation in parliament. Majority of women ministers in my government. And making sure, because we have now passed the thinking that leadership is something that is exclusively a part of being a man. It's not. It's and it's representative. But it's also, as we celebrate these days democracy when everybody is participating, I think it's also important to say we are celebrating our independence. In these days in Europe, the situation connected to war in Ukraine, the tense international situation we are in, also emphasizes the importance of independence. All countries need both to be strong in themselves, but also to have good friends and allies. And that leads me to the cooperation we have with the US. US is extremely valuable for Norway. I spoke yesterday in length about this earlier here in the museum. I'm not going to do that once more. But the friendship and the connection that we have to the US is also because of all of you, who are directly coming here from Norway, or in generations ago, your parents or grandparents or great-grandparents came here because we were one of the countries that gave the largest percentage of our population to the US. We were poor, but health was increasing. So the numbers of kids outgrew the farms, and they went to work here. And a lot of them became successful. Not all, but a lot of them became successful. There was a time, when I have an uncle in the US was really something you valued, because they had much more fun things when they came visiting than what you would have in Norway. After the Second World War, this is stories I've been told because I wasn't old enough at that time, but the uncles from the US came with things that we had never seen before. And but it's also a political connection. It's an understanding. And I think it's extremely important to take care of this. So when you are celebrating the 17th of May here, when you are doing all of this, it's not just to honor your history, but it's also to increasing the bonds that we have between our countries. And in Seattle, I'm very happy to say the bonds that we have between Bergen and Seattle. Bergen, of course, very often tries to say that we're not really Norwegian, we are from Bergen. It's a different thing, yes, and of course, even if our football team doesn't win, they do win in our hearts anyway. It's things like that that keeps us up. It's a different type of culture. I am very happy that that Bergen and Seattle is friendship countries. When I was a kid, we often went to the park in Nordnes, which I don't know if any of you have been there. Some of you have been there. In the park of Nordnes, there's a large totem given by the city of Seattle to Bergen on his 900 years jubilee. It's still there, and it's still important to remember that the closeness. And for me, as a kid at that time, I think, of course, I didn't really think so much about Norwegian immigrants as I thought about Indians when I saw Totem, but it still is showing the friendship we have. And we have so much more in common, especially when it comes to businesses. We are living often by the sea. We are very heavily maritime and marine oriented. We have a lot of common international things we should have on the agenda. For example, keeping the oceans clean. Because if not, it's going to be a challenge for all fishery industries, for the quality of life in the future if we don't do it. So we should work more also in the international arena, building alliances to make sure that we don't deplete the oceans or dirty them so much that it becomes much more difficult for the livelihoods of our people and the food that we should eat. And then I think it's extremely important to say 17th of May should also be a celebration of diversification, of being different, of having a different way of being Norwegian and a Norwegian ancestry. I think it's important in my country, I think it's important here. Nationalism is good when it's positive, when it creates the good values of a country. Nationalism is dangerous if it's based on viewing the other as something that you fear. And the US is the country that really have made, the melting pot function for a long, long time. You should keep it. It's valuable. And I think the same is in our country. We only go stronger if we understand that you can interpret being Norwegian in different ways. And that you acknowledge that some have double identities, like you do here today. Both Americans and Norwegians. We should have to value this, because I think it makes a stronger basis for all of our societies. So, let us celebrate the 17th of May, democracy, independence, the right to choose, but also the understanding that we get stronger if we understand each other and that we are inclusive. So, happy 17th of May. Gratulerer med dagen.
Still sniffling, that was quite moving actually. Thank you, Erna. That was a fantastic speech. Those beautiful words. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, on behalf of 17th of May Seattle, we are incredibly thrilled that you all made the effort to come out here today, and thank you so much. Please stick around, you can get another glass of wine, but we have so much happening in the community. Number one, I would say you're here in this building, so you should go see the Moomins exhibition down the hall. And then Bergen Place has got music started at noon. There's lots of different things happening. Please. And face painting. So that's exciting. There's, I think there's Pulsa, and there's some, all sorts of things. And then please also head up to our own lodge up the street as well. All of those things can be found in your lovely program in front of you. But other than that, thank you again so much, and we'll see you next year.
And we'll see you at the parade.
Yeah,
Thank you,
and the
everybody.
parade. One more? And just because you thought it was over, I lied. He's going to take it home.
Okay, everybody stand up and sing again on page 4. We will start with